should it always be a case of done the crime, so do the time, even if that means giving birth and possibly raising your child for its first few months in prison? Well, the Prime Minister, David Cameron, has called for an urgent rethink on the way we run our prisons, and one of the things he wants to change is how pregnant women and mothers with babies are treated. So should pregnant prisoners maybe be spared jail? Maybe they shouldn't end up there in the first place.
Well, I would agree with David Cameron. I mean, we don't agree on many things, but I think this is a pretty sensible proposition. It costs over £36,000 a year to keep someone in jail. And when I looked at the number of women in jail, the vast majority of them are serving sentences of under 6 months or under. So if they are pregnant, it seems to me having a baby in jail is about the worst place to give birth. And then you look at the reoffending rate, it's over half of them will reoffend. And they seem to, a lot of the women in prison seem to come from backgrounds, the vast majority come from backgrounds where they've had abuse, or they've been with people who've been abusive, they were abused as a child, or they've been involved with drugs. And it just seems to me that the cycle of repeating history repeating itself, there's a big danger it'll be passed on to their child. And I would favour women who get sentences, whether they're pregnant or not, of under a year should be in a different environment. They should be educated, they should do community service, they should be making good for what they've done. The vast majority of them are in prison for non-violent crimes.
I was going to say, if it's 6 months or less,
they're still in prison for a crime.
Yeah.
Yes, they're in prison for 2 sorts of crime. 80% of the women in prison are in for 2 sorts of crime: theft or handling stolen goods, or
so you think you should get away with that if you're pregnant?
No, I'm not saying they should get away with it, but I think that locking them up is not working, as 45% of them go on and reoffend. So the current system's not working.
I don't think it's anything to do with being pregnant. I mean, I just, you know, when this topic came up this morning in our meeting, I just instantly go on my gut instinct. And my gut instinct, as you always have a go at me for, is...
Well, we love you, Colleen.
You know, instantly I thought, no, I'm sorry. You know, you can't use pregnancy. How many then are going to go, well, I tell you what, I'll get pregnant, then I'll offend, and then I'll get away with it because I'm pregnant? I mean, we need to look at their whole, like you said, their upbringing and the background.
Yes, but Janet, people will be saying, well, where is the punishment? I take your point. So you're saying, look, a 6-month sentence, it's a fairly minor crime in the eyes of the law, not to the person who's been,
absolutely.
You know, who's had lifted from the shop or whatever, but it's considered by the law a minor crime. But where is the punishment? There has to be some punitive measure that they don't just get away.
OK, at the moment, the women who are in jail, where there's about 3,800, the children affected by locking up those women, there are 17,000 children affected. Now, those children will either be in care, be cared for by relatives, they're having a very disruptive childhood. I believe that it's better to punish the women, Colleen. I'm not saying they shouldn't be punished, but it must be in a setting where they have ready access to their children, they're supported and educated not to reoffend.
But that's where the problem lies, though, because I think, you know, if you look at countries like Sweden and Denmark, they are set up to, you know, really rehabilitate and educate people who go to prison, so, like, you know, women. In this country, it's great to say all of this stuff about counselling and rehabilitation and support programmes, post-prison support. We need money for this stuff. You know, in this country, we pay between
Janet's 20... saying it costs 36 grand a year to keep somebody in prison. Surely that money is better spent in a rehab centre where they can be with their children and be educated so they don't reoffend.
And I think your chances are less likely that they will reoffend, because in Sweden, again, in Sweden, Denmark, those countries where you rehabilitate, they're less than sort of 30%, 30, 40%. But the problem is, we still need that money to rehabilitate, and we pay between 20 and 40% taxes. In Sweden, they pay up to 60% tax. So they have a whole society set up to care for people. I don't think in this country we do.
I suppose if you say to people, do you like the idea of that? They might say, yes, that sounds great, but then ask them to pay more tax.
Exactly. I was going to say, but why, you know, what about people that don't have kids, or what about people that have kids that never offend? Why should they have to pay 60% tax to help.
Well, you're going to have that, aren't you? But the thing is, look, in society, you're always going to have people that fall through the net because of whatever reason. Perhaps they were born that way, you know, because of their environment, whatever, abuse, alcohol, drugs, all that. We've got to still look after those people. And actually, to live in a civil society, I am actually happy to pay more tax. At the moment, our charities are trying to do all of that work. Their money's being cut. So what are we doing? Just putting people away, locking them with pregnant women?
As well, because we're talking here about fathers, you know, about mothers and all that they mustn't be separated from their children. Are you not going to have a case then you're going to have fathers who are on a, you know, a
equally
shorter
separated from their
case and say, well, I'm separated from my child, I couldn't possibly be separated from my child. Because there will be people watching, Janet, who say, you know, I've come from a poor background, I came from a broken family, I lived on a council estate, I haven't offended, I haven't stolen, I haven't shoplifted, I haven't, you know, caused a crime. I'm having to pay for my nursery care.
Punishment's not working. The current system's not working. We've got over 85,000 people in prison and it's going up every year.
And they're reoffending.
And they're reoffending. So what do you want? Should we turn the whole of the Isle of Wight into a prison camp? Because, you know, that's the way we're going.